homosexuals, 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 homosexual, homo too, 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 homo too,
The galactic war waits for no one. Are you ready, Helldiver?
Cars, on top of cars, on top of cars, shaking ass on top of cars, yeah. Top of cars, yeah.
Mission
Top
coordinates
of cars,
locked.
yeah. Top of cars, shaking ass on top of cars. You say that? Ain't no, ain't no, ain't no, ain't no,
Engaging
ain't
orbital
no,
thrusters.
ain't no, ain't no.
Orbit synchronized. Allied destroyer has joined squadron.
This should be fine. Yeah, this should be fine.
Hellpod launch initiated.
Go now, Helldiver. Let our enemies take no step that is not hindered by the corpse of their comrade.
Calling down support weapon.
Deploying support weapon. Allied destroyer joining squadron. Deploying Helldiver to combat zone.
That's a cityscape even.
Requesting advanced weaponry.
Standing in an eagle!
How'd you like to chase all freedom?
Calling down a support weapon. Bug hive spotted.
An eagle never misses.
Gas strike incoming. Terminate outpost purged.
Attack back inbound.
Tactical asset near your location. Mission at 10 minutes remaining.
Liberty!
air support. I'm out.
Requesting air support.
Bug outpost destroyed.
Objective located. East.
Found something.
Objective critical stratagem available.
Sending in an eagle.
Calling in a hell bomb. Engaging terminal. Hell bomb armed. Clear the area.
Found something. Package acquired.
Another step towards galactic liberation. You may extract when ready.
Dropping package.
Calling in a hell bomb.
Package acquired.
And it's crashing again.
Objective critical stratagem available. Hellbomb request approved, on its way now. Gas strike incoming. Sending down support weapon.
Last reload.
Objective critical stratagem available. Objective critical stratagem no longer available. 5 minutes left. We can't stay this low much longer, Helldiver. Allied destroyer joining squadron. Deploying
Hello,
Helldiver.
AJ.
I got the terminal. Calling in.
No. That was intentional.
Destroyer leaving squadron.
Calling down a support weapon. Engaging terminal.
Objective critical stratagem available. Objective critical stratagem no longer available.
Reinforcing!
Don't just throw a reinforcement at the ground.
Deploying reinforcements.
Throw the reinforcement in a way that it puts the diver either ahead or behind the situation.
Joining the fray.
So if the goal is that we're trying to exfil the Shrieker nest after the Hell Bomb has been armed and primed and exploded, our goal is to get in and out to the objective point that is 3 minutes and 40 seconds away. So don't throw me directly at your feet. Throw me towards the extraction.
I'm out.
Chingas a tu madre, culero. ¿Quién sabe qué vergas dices?
No habla español.
Allied destroyer leaving squadron.
I cannot be asked to do two things at once, where I have to both salvage players that can get themselves killed, 20 bodies to a mega nest, and get mad that they're being called on having gotten killed 20 bodies to a mega nest, and then also have to deal with my internet being a shit. I can't do all those things. Not impossible. Not necessarily anybody's direct fault, except for those players in the last lobby. But I'm not going to tolerate a diver directly putting his Hellwatch on top of my head and crushing me with it. And then when given helpful advice, a diver effectively call me a slur that I'm not repeating in Spanish. Pinche culo. It's one of those days, chat. It's one of those days.
Bug tunnel breach.
Why can't I see
Allied
much sun?
destroyer
Yeah,
joining
sun.
squadron. Deploying Helldiver.
Throwing supply beacon.
Sending down equipment
Requesting
package.
advanced weaponry.
Sending down support weapon.
Calling down a support weapon.
Ran a full circle instead of running straight to the
Pelican
device.
1 returning to extraction point. Please ensure you're inside the extraction radius.
Get these shriekers out of the air. And glitch your blue weapons out and down.
Rare sample collected.
You only have another 1 minute and 27 seconds to drop them.
Marking location. Northwest.
ETA T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Not exactly the best position for a gun, but we'll have to just accept it.
Requesting advanced weaponry.
Sending down support weapon.
Bugs.
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Requesting orbital strike. Heavy.
So far, so good. 17 seconds, 16 seconds until cutoff.
ETA T-minus 20 seconds.
That's a lot of rockets. And he did not go down after the fourth one.
Pelican 1 preparing to depart.
On my ship,
Launch in 20
immediately.
seconds. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Hey Carl, what's a Chaos Diver? Alex, a Chaos Diver is a player that is actively dedicated to doing the antithesis of what a team-based game is for. In a sentence, they are a player that is actively going to sabotage other players, whether it be for their own personal pleasure, or because they are upset and tilted, and instead of using their words, they're going to sabotage the team because they're upset and want to cause chaos. In a paragraph, they are the antithesis of what happens when players that are not actually normal and common to playing a team-based game enter into a team-based environment where they can't just silence, deafen, mute, block, or exacerbate a ban against another player. Not all altercations that happen with a person denotes the actions and behavior of a particular player as a Chaos Diver, but all Chaos Divers are people who are going to be argumentative, less likely to be chosen and picked in a group, and most likely to use the normal antagonistic language, actions, and frameworks of perspective and logic to justify their antics. I'll give you an example. Before I went live just now, I infilled into a situation of 3 divers throwing themselves into a mega nest and costing themselves 20 bodies.
Destroyer has left squadron.
On a normal exfil mission, there are 24 requisitions for bodies. Bodies meaning reinforcements. They wasted 20 lives on a singular mega nest. They could not complete that mega nest without my assistance. When I called out those players, they got mad. At first I was typing, saying specifically, we have to exfil out the situation. We're losing a lot of bodies. Then they kept throwing themselves into another chaotic situation after another. I then continued calling them out about the fact that they're killing themselves over a singular mega nest. The map objective wasn't even completed. They just kept killing themselves on nothing. After calling them out in text, I called them out in chat and told them explicitly, if you are dying this often because you are not thinking about your choices before you make them, and you are not thinking, pull yourself out of the situation before shit goes south, I don't even have to call you bad. Who's dying most? I can't help you if you can't help yourself. Their reaction in order was, one of them to try to assassinate me, the second one to try and tell me to shut up and call me a nerd, and the third one to then try to, after I called them out about this, as I then do another objective by myself and clear it by myself, surviving in a field without my utility in my work because we had to close a giant mega nest, over 10 elite bodies in one area, and all of them with none of the equipment to be able to deal with it. Not even just standardized, they're running Eagles. They're favorite to the orbital laser. They didn't have heavy equipment to deal with the situation. They didn't have the forfeiture to deal with the situation. They kept throwing their lives into the situation, thinking that if they throw light armor at a heavy armor target, let alone an anti-tank target, then it'll kill it. And then when told that you should probably change your tactics, they get mad and try to assassinate me, the player helping them. Then when they got mad enough, because one of them was like, why don't you shut up? I mute them and tell them, no, because you need to be told that you're dog shit in this situation. All of this happens because you're not working with your team. Give me a second. If you worked with your team, this wouldn't happen. But because you're not listening to your team, you're dying in this situation. Consider who's at fault here. And then they tried to kick me from the match. And then I completed that match by myself with 1 exfiltration on the map.
Allied destroyer has joined squadron.
Couldn't get the amount of samples that was available, but that's the logic. That's what a Chaos Diver is. It is the most antagonistic, argumentative player that they basically exist in a state of, yo, what is Blood yapping about? Oh my god, listen to this nerd! Team-based game. Knowledge-based game. The more knowledge you have, the more likely you are to survive a situation. I'll give you another example. I'm on a map inside of a desert planet that is Illuminate based, but it's not an Illuminate City map. Planet maps default to a uranium rock, otherwise known by the player base cock rock structure, that houses at Super Dive 7 out of 8 of the uranium nodes, should there be an extra 8th node. In usually case, it defaults to 7 out of 7. On a dominated city map, the new types of maps where you go into the city structure of a conquered super city, it instead of the dual-fisted Helldiver's statuette that has 3 to 1 of the samples available, instead defaults them around a large 2-faced platform structure. The proper name would be a mezzanine. 2 buildings with staircases on either side, surrounded by supply drops, with uranium on the platform of the monolith. This player tried to argue that I was wrong about what I was telling him. I just simply corrected him, hey, that's not actually where they are. It's this. His response, no, I don't know about all that. It's definitely that. I was inside of a fast recon vehicle with another diver. The other diver found it. Give me a second. The other diver found it. I tell him, I don't know about all that, but I'm looking at the diver getting it right now. I was not live at the time, but I was recording for B-roll footage. This player chose to take that situation of me giving him information to then get fucking upset and then try to assassinate me again on another planet after 5 successful dives through my leadership, not even having to tell them anything, just through guidance, action, and play. He tries to assassinate us and fucks us over.
Allied destroyer has left squadron.
That's more or less what a Chaos Diver is. It can happen because of impatience, like that player that just disconnected. It can happen because of the impatience of a player like telling me to get ready while I'm on my live stream, discussing to my chat room something my chat room asked me. Even if it wasn't relevant. Even if they assumed I must be talking to myself for my own pleasure. It is when you remove the human element from interaction, rather than considering at any point at all. Perhaps if I used my words, we would not have this problem, or if I use my words better, we could try to get across what is clearly a point of miscommunication. Usually it's a defaulting of this person wants there to be a problem. They believe that they can get some clip format out of this. Perhaps I'm being recorded in a way that I don't already see or understand. And thus, if this player just acts as they want to, they can get whatever duck of my gum out of the situation they want. More or less, that is an elite. And that is an elite down.
Sub-objective in your vicinity.
More or less,
Thank you.
if the fault of an action
Tagging location. South.
is not on the circumstance of, it's okay, you didn't have the equipment, it's okay, I failed to communicate to you what was happening, it's okay, this isn't your fault, you just didn't have the experience to know how to perform in that situation. If the answer for a problem can be summarized down as, the player is sabotaging you, more than likely that is the actions and antics of a Chaos Diver. Because in a normal game we would call them a troll. But because this game depends on an exfil system where players work together, if a player is actively sabotaging their team, and the only excuse they have to explain their antics is, I don't like them, they talk too much, I didn't like their tone, despite the fact you can't read tone over text.
Allied destroyer has left the squadron.
Unfortunate. It more or less can be understood that the reason it's happening is because that person in question is toxic, and rather than communicating like a grown adult, would rather go, why is this sport charger moving this way? Is usually because that particular player would like to behave in such a way where they can be able to say, it's not my fault, it's the other guy's fault. Which is very common. It's a very common action. I did not like that this is a common action. At first I thought the concept of a Chaos Diver was ridiculous and silly. But unfortunately, it is not silly. It is how people behave. It's the way they act. It's the way that they would like to behave. They would like to minimize the level of interaction that they have in the video game to little to nothing. Basically, don't interact with the player, don't understand the player, don't communicate with the player. Do everything possible to dehumanize the player and forget the human behind the screen. And then act like you're a Twitch shitter. Twitch meaning Twitch the platform, not Twitch shooters such as Apex Legends. However, it's indicative of the behavior that you would expect inside of a Battle Royale like Apex Legends, or Warzone, or your flavor of the month, or Fortnite. Anything to be aloof, anything to be the cool person, anything to play towards the group advantage. More often than not, it can be understood just as ego. Sometimes, even a person defending themselves could be typologically phrased if only thing that they're doing is text abuse, is being a Chaos Diver. Because realistically, because of the PSN network connections, the reason this is relevant is that the only way to get a person banned is if they are connected to the PSN network. If they are not, there is no way to punish a player for the actions such as cheating, modding, hacking, etc. The only way for them to be punished is if they have that server connection. If they don't have the server connection, it's moot.
Allied destroyer
So,
joining squadron.
most
deploying
people,
Helldiver.
especially now that the PSN network tools have been put in place, we distinct the behavior through repeatable actions that can be denoted as pettiness from a person who would otherwise not do this if they did not have a stimuli to blame and flame their issues and problems on. It's entirely possible that a person can try to solve a situation and it creates a problem. But I would like to compare this to what we were dealing with the other day, when that player inside of Don't Starve Together was trying to get offended on behalf of everybody else, when I asked a question that was for the benefit of every person who was in the server.
Requesting objective equipment.
They take it on themselves to basically victimize themselves. And they do what we call wound collection. Whenever there's a problem, whenever there's a slight, it's not their fault, you're the one who's at to blame, and what you need to do is you need to do what everyone's asking for. It's a form of social pressure. It's manipulation. The correct response is for you to say, no, I'm going to do exactly what the fuck I said I'm going to do. Because if you're speaking on something that was not a problem, and the other person elevates it to a problem, in terms of Helldivers, what that looks like is,
One step closer
say
to mission
this
completion.
Mega Nest here.
Dropping a pin. North. Far.
Myself, M2, O4, and S3 attempt to go close that Mega Nest. Somehow, in the alternate parallel dimension where I'm not communicating this on a live stream broadband, or maybe they do, I don't know. People can be crazy like that. The people in question get upset that they can hear me talking to my chat room.
Delivering payload.
And says something along the terms of, yo, bro thinks he's main character. I'm just communicating with my live stream chat room and explaining and answering a question.
Calling in orbital strike.
But because this person wants to create a problem out of nothing, I now have to decide how I engage this behavior. Do I say, bro, it's not a big deal, I'm just talking to the chat room? Do I escalate it in terms of, bro thinks he's the main character when he's not even the main character, and smart back to them? But sometimes, you can use that tactic, and it can work, because it's a case of bravado. Obviously, you bully the bully. But, realistically speaking, no adult player playing a video game on the internet wants to have to regulate the behavior of a random stranger. So most of us would look at that as pedantic antics. Whatever way you want to slice it, what ends up coming down to being brass tacks at the end of the day is where a person would just normally act like a human being and not put any kind of negative parlance or negative opinion behind the behavior and antics of another.
Marking location.
A person otherwise is tempted to put blame on the user who may or may not even be responsible for some type of interaction, and then use that stimuli in the situation. That's unfortunate. I got gangbanged.
Calling down a support weapon.
Would otherwise use the unfortunate circumstance of that situation to basically create a never-ending argument. And then, from the position of another person's perspective, because they might not know what's happening, because
Requesting
they're
sentry.
playing their lives, because my hours matter more than your hours, type of argumentation. That person's behavior then exceedingly becomes an annoyance and a pessimistic standard, until you have to then call them on their bullshit and say, yo, what the fuck is your deal? Something less kind than, can you please tell me what the problem is so I can solve it? Unfortunately, there is no cure for a Chaos Diver. They're just going to behave how they behave because they want to act how they want to act. That's the raw truth of it. People have been assholes since time immemorial, and as much as a person could say, you don't want to have that kind of outcome, negativity being common means that the only way to really deal with it is to be the one who's in control of the band. Now, the important thing in asking this question is that it's important that you can tell the difference between what is an honest mistake and what is, oh, come on, I stint that. What is an honest mistake and what is an intentional choice.
Calling down a sentry.
It can be accidental if a person is walking with, say, a EATS in their hands, an expendable anti-tank round, that they accidentally left-click in your direction when they thought they had their stim pistol out and they accidentally execute you. It is okay for that to occur because it might be an accident. If a player actively turns around in the middle of an argument and decides to start raising the field with their energy weapon, that is an explicit choice. They are griefing you. And at that moment, when they choose to proceed in that action, they are a Chaos Diver. And the correct reaction is now to deal with the fact that they have decided to make themselves a nuisance for everybody else involved. Because they don't just hurt the person they're trying to target, they hurt everyone. Because that hurts group cohesion. Nothing can get done with a Chaos Diver in the party. Because they're going to keep trying to antagonize the situation to say that they're being victimized by the person, rather than the other way around. The person victimizing everybody else. The logic of, instead of punishing 9 people for the actions of one player in a 10-man lobby, you ban and permanently ban the person who's decided to make themselves a problem in that 10-person lobby.
Package.
I hope that explains the logic. Okay, that nest is back here.
Tagging map. East. Far.
Sending in an eagle!
God damn it, they're everywhere.
Launching orbital strike.
Requesting sentry.
Throwing grenade.
Heavy! Southeast. Close.
He's too close. Much better.
Calling down a sentry. Calling in reinforcements. Calling down fortifications.
Impaler,
Enemy.
head in direction 180, moving on our position close.
Reinforcing!
Don't just keep throwing divers at your feet. Start throwing them a little distance away so they can have breathing room to be able to deal with the incoming horde. Also, be advised, Shriekers in the air.
Requesting sentry!
Acknowledged.
Requesting advanced weaponry!
I'll attempt to move to find where the stalker nest is. Do your best to hold your ground and position. Don't force the objective if you can't complete it without being harassed by the local fauna. Can you give me a heading direction with a ping on the map towards the likely location of where the stalkers originated from?
New mag.
Heavy. On my position. Reinforcing.
Calling in reinforcements!
Recall last. I need a ping for the direction and where you're being harassed by stalkers from. The best I can do for you without that information is start looking for it myself in the circumference, and then attempt to look for a LiDAR station.
Requesting orbital.
Placing sentry. Calling down a sentry.
Last mag in primary.
Objective located. South.
Sending in an eagle. Requesting advanced weaponry. You will never destroy our way of life.
Heavy, on my position.
Heavy on my position. Heavy north, 50 meters.
Calling in reinforcements. Heavy, northeast, 50 meters.
Keep doing your best. Be advised there's incoming waves to the nearby nests. Try to lock down the position with whatever encampments you have.
Calling down a sentry.
Calling down a support weapon.
Heavy, southeast, 50 meters.
I'll keep looking for that for that stalker nest, but I have no idea where to look.
Heavy, on my position.
Okay, I think I have a heading now. I found it.
Objective located. Southwest. 50 meters. Requesting air support.
Enemy tactical asset within threat range.
Target neutralized in 5 seconds.
Requesting air support. Heavy on my position.
The full nest is closed.
Rare sample collected. Tagging location.
Rerouting to direction.
Placing sentry.
New spear for Auxville.
Support weapon.
Got a sample.
Calling down a sentry.
Requesting advanced weaponry.
Heavy southwest, 50 meters.
M1 has oversight.
Reloading. How'd you like to taste some freedom? Calling in orbital strike.
Firing gas strike.
Calling down fortifications.
Permanent hive structure destroyed.
Good work on this force spear. Keep up your pressure.
Calling in reinforcements.
Bugs. East. Dropping item.
Tagging location, east.
Good work. Did you happen to have any other questions, Alex?
Heavy. Southwest.
Enemy elite, southwest, 50 meters. Marking location.
Calling down a sentry.
Throwing grenade!
Enemy elite. Southeast, 50 meters.
Mission at 20 minutes remaining.
Shrieker horde inside.
I knew they wouldn't abandon us!
Tagging location.
We're almost done here. This next load will finish the bunch.
New mag! Tagging map. East, 300 meters.
Okay,
Dropping a pin.
move in the direction of the M1 ping. Grab the supply boxes that you need to move, and start moving.
Supplies, north.
Okay, let's take this smart and let's take this slowly. Rather than coming from one singular direction, we need to do our best to encapsulate this mega nest area and try to deal with what is left. Looks like you closed about 6 holes, so that means the far side has 5 holes left.
Bugs.
We've got contact in the air.
Orbital inbound.
Requesting sentry.
Package acquired.
Bug hole, southwest. Close.
Terminate outpost destroyed.
Good work. Now comes the hard part, which is finding our samples. I know that there are samples on my corpse back where I died closing another smaller but yet large nest. I do not know where the uranium samples are.
Heavy, south, close. Dropping package.
I'm being forced to run in this direction because of pressure from an impaler and hordes chasing my tail.
Never rest!
Heavy. Northwest, close.
Dropping package. Package acquired. Package acquired.
No, not to extraction. Pick up the samples that are on the map. We have time to work with. There's 15 minutes left on the map. We don't need to exfil anytime soon. The hard part's already done. We've done the rest of the mission. Now we collect the spoils of our reward.
Sweet.
Unfortunate. 7 green, 3 orange.
Dropping package.
Heavy. Southwest. Close.
Package acquired.
Democracy has landed. How about a nice cup of liberty? That's called democracy.
Heavy. East. 50 meters. Dropping package.
Come out.
Calling in reinforcements.
That's Riser.
Calling in orbital strike.
Package acquired. Dropping package. Heavy. Southeast. Close. Package acquired. Requesting fortification.
New
Heavy.
medic.
Southeast. Close. Dropping package.
Last reload.
Requesting advanced weaponry. Requesting sentry. Package acquired.
Exfilling as much as I can. I've pulled a pole on top of myself, which should give you time and pressure and room to move. Pull him back down towards the exfil, and I'll make my way back on foot.
Heavy. Northwest. 50 meters.
Fire in the hole. Requesting orbital strike.
Requesting sentry. Calling down a sentry. Calling down a support weapon.
Sending in an eagle.
Package acquired.
Coordinates received. This is Pelican 1 returning to
I
extraction
do believe I
radius.
said we do not need to exfil.
Heavy. West. 50 meters. Calling down a sentry.
ETA T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds.
I hope those samples are not getting retrieved.
Bugs, south. Calling down fortifications. Requesting advanced weaponry. Package acquired.
Calling down a support weapon.
Dropping package.
ETA, T-minus 30 seconds.
Requesting advanced weaponry.
Sending down support weapon. ETA, T-minus 20 seconds.
Requesting air support.
ETA, T-minus 10 seconds. Clear landing zone.
Pelican 1 approaching pickup. Pelican 1 landing in progress.
For liberty.
How would you like to taste of freedom? Bag's empty.
8 minutes left on the clock. It's not worth it at this point.
New mag.
Into the ship.
Pelican 1 preparing to depart. Shuttle launch in 20 seconds. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Not the choice I would have called for, but apparently somebody has better tactics than I do.
Liberty
Ow, my
smiles
neck.
upon your trail.
Hello, Callum. I mean, the COD mentality doesn't fully explain the problems of Chaos Divers, but it does explain the aggression of the regular players. How late am I planning on staying up? As I've learned within the last hour, the surgery for my mother is going to happen in the morning at 6 a.m. So, I have some content I need to record off broadcast when I'm done with this PlayStation here, because my food's cooking. And then, I don't know. I have to get her up at 4 so that we can be ready to leave at 6. So probably not. I'm probably going to be up the entire night. And what do I think about the new Dune game? It's another SMP. It's another survival multiplayer game. One that's more light and water autistic than most others, like V-Rising. I'm not gonna play it, but it's probably fine.
A triumphant return.
I appreciate your comments. Have a good day, sir. Level 24. I mean, the iron sights aren't that bad.
Mission coordinates locked. Hellpods primed. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
Oh, that's a horrible fucking planetscape. Extreme cold, roving shriekers, atmospheric spores. Then have mercy. Okay. This is death. This is death. This is death, but menial. This is supposed to be on the far end. Somewhere right about here. I'm going to need the incendiary for this. All of this works. So now, light up to medium, explosions through holes, thermite. And then as this map looks, Atmospheric plus extreme cold. Direct heavy solution. Something that can be used with a single hand. Backpack slot. And clearing. Movement or fast exfil? Movement.
Launch initiated.
How dangerous is this drop? This drop is
All
not
the
dangerous.
galaxy looks to you for salvation. Let nothing stand in the way of liberty.
Oh, come on.
Requesting orbital strike. Calling down a support weapon.
Requesting advanced weaponry.
Sending out an SOS. Requesting advanced weaponry.
Oh, we're at the edge of the map.
Reloading.
He should bleed out. Motherfucker wobbles and wobbles and he does not fall the fuck down. That is 3 direct shots.
Reinforcing.
This is the most yoinkity splunker fucking Bottle Titan I have ever seen in my goddamn play history.
Calling down a support weapon.
Orbital inbound.
Objective complete.
Southwest, 50 meters.
Oh, come on. Why did that sticky bounce? Can't type, Jesus Christ.
Requesting advanced weaponry. Last reload. Calling down a support weapon. For prosperity. I'm out.
I got the terminal.
Okay. Good recovery. That's right. I threw the SOS beacon out of bounds. That's why it's not on.
Sending out an SOS.
Engaging terminal.
Oh, guard dogs, my precious beloveds. How you've redeemed yourself.
I've got this one.
One Alpha, 2 Alpha.
Sample collected.
I got the terminal.
One step closer to mission completion.
Out of ammo.
How'd you like to chase? Oh, freedom! Calling in orbital strike. Have a taste of democracy.
Requesting orbital.
Reloading.
Come on.
I'm out. Got a sample.
Grenades, 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 grenades.
Requesting sentry.
Keep running. Now it's down.
Found something.
Take this puppy.
Marking location. South.
Don't leave without taking the guard dog.
Heavy. Southeast. Close.
Mission at 30 minutes remaining.
Take this guard dog.
Requesting advanced weaponry. Requesting orbital strike. Reloading. Heavy. South. On my position. I'm up.
New mag.
Calling in orbital. Calling down a support weapon. Mag's empty. Sample collected. Mag's empty. Reloading.
Okay. Good. Good hustle.
I got the terminal. Engaging terminal.
Permanent hive structure
I got the
destroyed.
terminal.
Loading.
Reloading. Requesting orbital strike. How'd you like the chase of freedom?
Tagging map. Northwest, 100 meters. Close.
Get some! Get some! How'd you like the taste of freedom? Rare sample collected!
Okay, moving.
Sub-objective in your vicinity.
Rare sample collected!
My exams didn't go off. And we both. Well, no. You got ejected in math? That must have been lag.
Reinforcing.
Request approved. Reinforcements on the way.
Joining the fray!
That came from that direction. Yeah, came from that direction.
Outpost destroyed.
Found something! Sample.
Two-man vault. That's not what I'm looking for, though. I'm looking for that hive.
Allied destroyer joining squadron. Deploying Helldiver.
Found something!
Heavy. Southwest, 100 meters.
Located uranium.
Found something!
Don't know what caused him to leave. Am I disconnecting? No. I mean, I don't know what you call the right time, but I suppose you're here at a time. Hello, Yan.
Helldiver KIA. Deploying replacement.
Suicide Ran!
Request approved. Deploying reinforcements.
Helldiver reporting to the front!
Firing gas strike.
Bag's empty!
Dead bodies walking. They have to be coming from nearby. Actually, how?
Sending down support
That's not.
weapon.
It's a nest. It must be that one. Yes, it is. Not this time.
Last reload!
Enemy tactical asset within threat range. Permanent hive structure destroyed. Gas strike incoming.
Bag's empty!
Sending down support weapon. Sending down equipment package.
For prosperity!
Of course. Where are these shriekers coming from?
Tagging map.
That gets the rest of that pack off of me. 14 minutes to complete this mission and find out what she was asking for. 3 lives to do it in. Bum ba-dum bim ba-dum bum bum ba-dum. Ba-dum ba-dim ba-dum bum bum ba-dum. Bum bum ba-dim bum bum ba-dum. Bum bum ba-dum bum. Bum ba-dum. Bum ba-dum bim ba-dum ba-dum. Bum bum ba-dim ba-dum bum bum ba-dum. Bum ba-dum bim bum ba-dum bum. Bum 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 ba-dum bum. Bum ba-dum bam.
Permanent hive structure destroyed.
Okay. I can ignore the mega nest at least. If at the detriment for all the samples in that area. I don't know. It could have been disconnects. It could have been the player leaving. I have no clue what caused it because I was not looking at the broadband symbol at the moment that it disconnected or the player disconnected. I had to guess the player was annoyed that I wasn't closer to him. Which would be from me searching the zone.
Found something!
Is that one in the city limits? No, it's in the city limits. I don't think I want to go inside that building. There's a player.
Found something!
Mission controls inside the fortification.
Found something!
Mission at 10 minutes remaining.
Thank you, 10. Run. Oh, come on! Really? Invisible walls behind fucking object cars. That's bullshit. And I cannot do anything until this player drops into the mission. Those are the deaths
Allied
that annoy you
destroyer
the
joining
most.
squadron. Deploying Helldiver to combat zone.
Reinforcing.
Not at its feet, not over the pack, directly on top of unit.
Point me to the enemy. How'd you like to take smoke?
Main objective.
Oh, now I can move past it now that the car's blown up.
Calling in orbital strike.
Requesting air support.
Calling down a support weapon. Bag's empty. Requesting advanced weaponry. Calling down a support weapon. You will never destroy our way of life. Last reload.
Why is the resupply beacon unavailable? Oh, that's because he called it in for himself selfishly, instead of going towards the objective. That's why, Carl.
Engage in terminal. I got the terminal.
9, 3, 5, 2, 8. That is too close!
Engage in terminal.
Cotton dick and locks. Why would you run toward the console? Immediate dangers first.
Last reload.
And here's where that reload fucks me. Yep. Death because of not having reload for both stims and ammunition. Spat on, spat on, spat on, spat on.
My leg. Ready to liberate.
Hello, Mr. Impaler. Have a sticky, Mr. Impaler.
Bug outpost. Orbital inbound.
5 minutes left. We can't stay this low much longer, Helldiver.
Thank you, 5.
Requesting advanced weaponry. I'm on it. Engaging terminal.
We cannot engage the terminal yet because we haven't had the locks off. Now we can engage the terminal. That's a possibility that my dog just tagged him.
Calling in reinforcements!
Ow.
I got the terminal!
4. Three minutes.
Bag's empty.
It's gonna take us 2 minutes to run there. This is gonna be cutting it close.
Requesting orbital strike!
Firing gas
Engage
strike.
Run.
the terminal!
You have been a stalwart line of freedom. Extract when ready. Requesting air support!
Smoke tunnel breach!
Oh, that's unfortunate. I don't know what caused that impact.
Reinforcing!
Reinforcements.
Why did you move to the Meganest? We need to get off planet! I'm holding all the samples from an overdone mission!
Approved. Reinforcements on the way.
Point me to the enemy.
Extraction is available.
Found something! Going down a support weapon!
Deploying support weapon. 1 minute remains. Destroyer departure imminent.
Calling down supplies! I'm out!
Outpost destroyed.
Requesting advanced weaponry! Calling in orbital strike! Calling down a support weapon!
Sending in an eagle!
Super destroyer leaving low orbit. Emergency.
We are now
extraction
locked to the
shuttle
planet.
deployed.
2 minutes on the clock.
30 seconds.
We need to circle this base camp. We cannot hold a single position. We have to keep moving.
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver.
Situation snafu. Repeat. Situation snafu. 50 seconds to hold. We need to live.
ETA T-minus 30 seconds.
Get some. Get!
ETA T-minus 20 seconds. ETA T-minus 10 seconds. Clear landing zone.
I'm carrying the samples. I have to get on that ship. I cannot guarantee your safety and arrival to the platform.
This is Pelican 1, preparing for touchdown. Pelican 1, preparing to depart. Shuttle launch in 20 seconds.
17 seconds, 15 seconds, 14 seconds, 13 seconds, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Jesus fucking Christ. None of that was your fault, Griffin.
Liberty has seized.
Oh my god! And that's why I'm the type of player that I am, chat. Now, to extrapolate on the conversation we had earlier, does his gameplay make Killer 50833 a Chaos Diver? No. Why? Because bad play isn't Chaos Diving. That's not griefing. That's just bad play. It'd be Chaos Diving if he wasn't intentionally fucking me over. He just doesn't have battle IQ. He can learn battle IQ. He, she, it, or they. Hooray, we're done on Krakatoa. We've captured the planet. Lacking battle IQ does not make a player a Chaos Diver. Now, if he had done that, and then also murdered me while coming in, and also made sure that all of our ability to get some things done were caused with him not taking out the important targets in the middle of the fight, and we weren't able to get the samples off the planet, and we weren't able to survive, then that would have been Chaos Diving. And the guy that disconnected earlier was not a Chaos Diver either. I don't know what caused him to drop, but he was putting in maximum effort. Alright, now let's go see what she needs. Be right back, chat.
Allied destroyer has left squadron. Reminder, all personnel must submit weekly urine sample by 0400.
Okay. I'm thirsty, and finally the dishwasher's done so I can make Kool-Aid. Where, oh where could we possibly be
Helldivers
headed
across
next?
the galaxy are fighting for every inch of territory. Where will you join them?
Krakatoa is now safe. Looks like the
Choose
majority of the
any of the
diver force
available
chose to
operations
split themselves across the pack.
Each one you complete is a paving stone on the road to liberty.
What does Helldivers IO say? Hi, Horror. The galactic map says we are on New Bellara, we are on Alariat, we are on Sylph, Vernon Wells, and Veld. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a headache. Two days, 13 hours, 16 minutes to capture another bug planet. And we are losing enough percentage that we are losing Alariat despite the work we did before the mission. And yet, we are still
Every
significantly
mission brings us
behind on
one
the
step
split
closer to the full
because of the
democratization
super
of the
credit bug
known
divers.
universe.
And we are partially ahead on the Illuminate side. So the most viable thing to do right now would be exfilling to the Illuminate front and pushing the Illuminate numbers up so that when the players return to their bug diving. Okay.
One shudders to envisage what repulsive larvae gestates within the gloom as we speak.
Restore, do storage.
This operation would hamstring the enemy.
Initiating FTL jump to the Allied system. Jump complete. Mission coordinates locked.
Assault rifles. Tenderizer's almost done. It's just a secondary now. Move. Page isn't fully complete. Launcher still on unlocked. Might as well not buy that. Have to hold. 41 is a very small number. And I require what, 150? That is correct, sir. 200 actually. Thank me. I like how Low Drone asks for a piggyback when he needs to reload the gun. Well, you can command a drone soldier to go back into its backpack slot by pressing the 5 key as a forced reload. It is useful in that it gives you the ability to manage the ammunition of the creature. So, a normal laser dog, a dog breath, and a shock dog canine unit will not need to be reloaded, as the rover, the dog breath, and the canine unit are all non-reloadable. They're basically putting out gas at a distance. Gas, fire. Is there a fire one? I can't think. But gas, electric, and heat laser. In terms of all the shit that you could have working for a player, a lot of the player's ability to use the normal guard dog, which is a mobile liberator, is that it has to refuel at the gun platform. It used to be that you needed to reload it with ammunition from yellow boxes in the map, which made it shit. So they took away that mechanic, made it so that it had to reload from the platform on your back, and then gave you the ability to activate it at will, to force it, if it is not reloading or firing at units, to reset its aggro range so that it can then fire at those units. Now that it works the other way around, it gives you the ability to manage its ammunition since it is medium penetrating. Because of that, it has now become one of the best backslots in the game. As you know, chat, I'm not one to usually say what is good and what is best and blah, 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 blah. But it is literally one of the best ones in the game now. Because since, as the purple name is saying right now on the screen, you can put it back in its backpack slot to put yourself back into a state of stealth. You can be able to pop up on enemies and surprise a pack where normally you would not have the ability to do so. So having an infinite personal guard unit enables you to work in situations that you otherwise would not be able to do the wet work because it would expose itself at distance. Now, where it's shown its best potential and its capability was inside of the Illuminate maps, as did the Liberator itself. The main hand Liberator, as well as the guard dog, are the same weapon, but the Liberator on the guard dog has the penetration. Yes, you can. So, since all Illuminate soldiers, with the exception of a Harvester, aka the Tripod, are all light armor penetrating, the Flesh Mob is a Bile Titan without the armor, the Voteless are normal mob bugs that can be attributed as melee zombies, and either a Flying Overseer, or a Ground Overseer, or a Overseer Artillery unit are all forms of medium armor, but it's in plates, so it can be shot off until they are then exposed, and then you can either rail their faces, or you can rail their bodies with mid-center shots. These weapons in hand enable a main hand plus the guard dog to deal with all normal enemies, which then allow you to specialize your in-hand support weapon for dealing with higher units. So if you are a street sweeper, you can do what I've been doing, which is taking the Wasp plus the Mini and the Mega Gatling turrets, that's the machine gun turret and the Gatling turret, plus a 50k or a barrage. Specifically if you're trying to use the barrage to try to kill a specific place on the map, such as an encampment. And then a 500k for anything you need to throw at a distance, should you need to put distance between yourself and an enemy. Your primary can be anything that does light armor or medium. It doesn't need to be heavy. Your secondary can be anything that can deal with a light to medium to even using the ultimatum, but I wouldn't suggest it, simply because it's hard to use the ultimatum. Should you have the grenade pistol, the grenade pistol can be your alternative to using your throwables. The throwables can then become infantry only in the form of incendiary and incendiary impact. And I prefer to use the grenade pistol, because the grenade pistol then gives me the ability to use any support weapon on the hand to supplant the shields on a encampment. And in doing that, a loadout like this becomes a standard. Basically, the only thing that has to change is the assault rifle. If you're taking on heavier targets, you can choose to do something like the Eruptor. If you're choosing to take on lighter targets, and you want something in a shotgun, the Break Incendiary is a standard. Assuming you want something with some penetration, or rather some rapid fire, any variation of the submachine guns can be used. Which is usually a laudable, because if you compare for damage to damage, the Liberator Concussive is up there with the Liberator, and they are both points ahead of the Liberator Penetrator, which is going to have less capacity. And when you're comparing the base Liberator, you really can't beat the recoil unless you're going Tenderizer. Tenderizer has 45% less capacity, which currently you can counter by using Roadblock. You can use heavy Roadblock, or you can use Street Scout to receive Siege Ready, which then enables your primary to reload faster and have higher ammo capacity. It also affects your sidearm, so you gain 2 extra grenades, you gain 2 extra clips, and inside of a laser cannon clip, you gain 1 extra laser cannon core, for a total of 9, 8, and 3. At least across this particular loadout that I choose to use. You can get away with using 4 grenades because you're going to reload the grenades off of city structures instead of reloading them off of supply chains, because 4 is bigger than 2, and you don't need to be supplying yourself off supply boxes unless you're running out of ammunition in your primary. Since this is a blitz mission, this then allows you to have the Quasar as your standard, or excuse me, not Quasar, but your laser cannon as your standard, because this is a one-hander, where if it is not for the intention of having the jump pack to jump yourself out of situations the Voltless are going to overwhelm you, a guard dog would give you safety and security from those packs, as well as being a mobile turret for your back. So, in those situations where you're facing down flesh mobs and you don't have a turret, it becomes your turret. Whereas in any other situation, you're jump packing away from things because you're trying to buy time or you're trying to be mobile. So the simplest change you could make is you could change this for this, and this is fine. You could also be able to change this for Guard Dog Rover, but you're now going to be at the mercy of however this beam hits you or another player. The possibilities technically are endless. Technically are endless. I have, however, because I've been using heavy armor, have been using the jump pack, because my situational awareness usually doesn't allow me to get surrounded. Even when I'm not using scout armor, UAV Recon Booster keeps you safe because you're never going to be dealing with spore generation and blockage on these planets whenever you're dealing with the inside of a city. So it allows you to be able to avoid the hordes, and it even allows you to be able to control the space of the hordes. So when you're getting ran down by Voitless and you don't have a guard dog for your back, assuming that you're willing to get in and out, you can use a encampment as a defense tool to give yourself breathing room. Because when you're dealing with multiple flyers and multiple overseers, it is very hard to survive. However, it remains to be seen if there is, quote, a best in slot on every planet, depending on your tools and how you choose to play, and whether or not the capacity of the cooldown for a heat beam weapon on a planet that is considered cold is in effect. For this planet, because ion storms are in effect, as well as the Leviathan blockade, there's not a lot of ways to really be able to set yourself up for success unless you're willing to try and find a way to give yourself the space to make it happen. Because Leviathans are what control cityscapes, which is why I usually tend to prefer the encampments. You can lock down a street, which is why I call them street sweepers. You can lock down a street and, using a wasp, be able to deal with any heavy unit in the field, while still having enough micromissiles to attack other objects, because your goal is to take out the flesh mobs and the overseers, and a tripod whenever you see them, although it will take an entire round of one wasp to get it done. That's if you choose to go backpack hand. Should you choose to have your tertiary and your quaternary to instead be backpack split from your hand, you can instead take a laser cannon and then have any choice of backpack you want, since it will be able to shred down the legs of a object because it's heavy armor penetrating, which will shear through not only the eye slot but also the legs. You might overheat the cannon in process of doing so if your first few laser ticks don't connect directly, and you might have to kite a little bit, assuming you don't want to overheat the tank, but that will give you the ability to deal with those units. Both of them are acceptable, assuming you want to be on foot. And then, of course, obviously, you can change the jump pack for the hover pack if you just simply want to have air dominance against objects that would then be overwhelming you, moving from place to place, rather than jumping from high ground to low ground, or low ground across the high ground. From a high ground situation you would never be able to escape without falling on the ground and collapsing from fall damage. The hover pack can be switched out for the jump pack to enable higher air superiority and control. This player's AFK, isn't he?
Hellpod launch suspended. Hellpod's prime.
I don't normally do that, but the player never returned. I was about to ask if a summoner build is possible, but it seems the rover and the canine robot are in the same slot. Metaphorically speaking, if the intention is to have every unit have a canine unit, it is possible for your units to carry a main hand capacity anti-tank object in their hand. They do exist, but the viability for what they exist to do is different. It is theoretically possible, for Luminance for example, that a laser cannon, a flamethrower, a quasar cannon, and some form of expendable anti-tank can be taken as a main hand to deal with enemies for each Helldiver, alongside the stalwart for anything that's not a stingray, and a tripod, a machine gun should you be aiming to destroy the legs of a harvester and deal damage to the main body of a stingray, and a heavy machine gun for everything, assuming you want more power. And I guess, metaphorically speaking, railgun, but we all avoid this weapon now because they killed it into the ground. And you can get away with any of these one-handers while then carrying your dog of choice. Personally, I would suggest the guard dog, because then you can create a firing line, because your siege engineers in the side and the front will be guarding your back, while your main units are going to be using one man take off the shield, the other person deal with the object. So, assuming you have a unit that is carrying the quasar, one person uses their anti-infantry arms to shoot off the bubble, the other unit prepares the quasar to destroy the tripod directly with the anti-tank charge-up. What most people tend to prefer, however, is they tend to prefer the wasp launcher or the commando. The commando is also a one-hander, and it's also a form of expendable anti-tank, but it has the downside of having 43 extra seconds on its cooldown, because it's 4 laser-guided missiles versus the 2 anti-tank contingencies on the eats. So, Scavenger, Buzzard. Technically, that's what I call them. The Scavenger is going to give you 40 seconds more uptime versus the Commando, where the Buzzard is going to allow you to harass the tripod faster and rely only on needing to pull it out when it's time to pull it out. So, a unit that's not on street sweeping, should they have a laser cannon, can deal with every single unit in that field, with exception of being able to put a hole in the Leviathan, until somebody else puts a hole in the Leviathan, assuming that their orbital barrage does not punch a hole in it for you, or the strafing run punch a hole in it for you. In that way, should you want to take Dog Breath, I would suggest Dog Breath if you're not using Guard Dog. The Guard Breath will slow down the units nearby you with the gas, thus giving you more breathing room to operate. Realistically, if you wanted something more conservative, that would be a summoner build. You'd be looking at emplacements. And you'd be running something like this. The upside of this is that you have heavy capacity control. You've got a minion. And then you have a rotating timer of 77 seconds and 128 seconds for a I need you to cover the airspace, and this flesh mob's pack and the 5 flesh mobs behind him and the 17 overseers behind him need to disappear immediately, while you pressure the tripod using the laser cannon. This would be the most maximal way you could do a minion summoning build, because encampments are effectively minions if it's not emplacements, because an encampment is different. An emplacement that you don't directly control, that's controlled by AI, is the closest you can get to minions. So this would be 3 minions plus your in-hand. The only thing that would matter in this situation is that if you're using a pair of armor, like I'm currently using, you will not have the ability to run out of most situations if you're not wearing medium and light. And if you're not wearing medium, and you're instead wearing light armor, you're going to have less armor to deal with the side effect of getting attacked by Voteless and getting attacked by Overseers and Flesh Mobs. You're more likely to survive wearing heavy, and this is the logic behind why I take a jump back. Because then mobility is solved. And that would be a standard build that I can throw out should I need to. However, since this is an Illuminate warp ship mission, I need to move from place to place. So instead, what I usually do is some combination of this or this. In a situation where I have to choose between the machine gun sentry and the Gatling sentry, the Gatling sentry will deal with packs immediately, where for the machine gun sentry, if it's not already in an airspace where it is uncontested, I have to help keep the structure safe before it's destroyed by other objects. And right now, I do not have the module upgrade that gives them 50% more protection against explosive damage. So, if I need something dead that is in front of me that is anti-infantry, quick, fast, and hurry, the Gatling is going to get thrown behind me, I'm going to run past the Gatling, I'm going prone, and I'm going to rail the enemy with my main hand, until the job's done. Because, ironically enough, with the use of any additional stratagem, such as a Star Wart that is being offered to the field, I don't have to pull out the laser cannon until it's time, which I can demonstrate.
Launch initiated.
The main thing that's important to understand here is that the key core strategy is you're not depending on your weapon to save you. Each weapon's job is specific. And if it doesn't do the specific job it's there for, you do not need it in the mission. This is technically how all concepts work.
Sending out an SOS!
Hello, blueberries, my children. But most people
Follow me!
do not view it that way.
Deploying equipment package.
Tagging map.
Don't get killed, blueberry. Don't get killed, blueberry. There you go.
Freedom forever! Squid outpost!
Our citizens depend on you for their safety.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Setting down sentry.
Oh, that's directly unfortunate. I was too close to this edge of this platform, so I die.
Allied destroyer joining squadron. Deploying Helldiver.
No, assuming that I didn't get stuck there on the edge and I didn't suck, I jump out of the range of that, I jump towards the Gatling gun. The Gatling gun then starts killing the units, and the units start getting dealt with. At the very minimum, assuming in a horde like that, it survives for long enough, it survives just enough protection to allow us to destroy the structure with another diver.
Landed! Requesting air support!
Illuminate outpost erased.
Reinforcing! How about a nice puff of liberty?
And another reason I use the jump pack is that in situations like this, Voltless and Flesh Mobs can't climb. If you can obtain high ground, and you can deal with any
Mag's empty.
main hand user amongst the Overseers that would have the ability to target you, you just have the ability to maintain air dominance. Of course, you can't move, but you have the ability to maintain air dominance. The only thing you have to remember is that if you're on a mission type where you're being given a free Eagle strafe run, you have to remember to put on Eagle rearm once you've used your two 50Ks. Because once you've used your 50Ks,
Sample collected.
you're gonna be at the mercy of your ability to get capacity back to your equipment. You're less timer restricted.
Calling in reinforcements.
Don't crush the car.
Rear sample collected. Got a sample.
That blueberry almost got dusted.
Objective nearby.
In the sky. Get some! Get some! Requesting sentry!
Squid outpost. Requesting air support.
How'd you like the taste of freedom?
That's unfortunate. That happens sometimes. They can't acquire a target because they're too close. But it at least serves as an extra body for you to avoid getting trapped. And when in doubt,
Sending in an eagle!
Requesting air support.
You have been a stalwart line of freedom. Extract when ready.
Requesting air support!
Attack underway.
in my experience, especially during the Battle of Super Earth, I have discovered
Northeast, 100 meters.
Marking location.
Ow. I've discovered that I can better trust the action of a Star Wars than I can trust the action
Rare
of a
sample
machine gun
selected.
or a heavy machine gun.
5
It just works better, chat.
5 minutes remaining.
I wish that it weren't the case, because I'm not the kind of person that will tell you one weapon or one item is better over everything at all times. But it literally works better. Now, mind you, I invented this loadout 5 days ago.
Found something.
Just on a whim, to see if it worked, because I wanted to make use of the scout loadout. And when I get my hands on Truth Enforcer, I'm going to do the exact same thing with the radar ping on the Ministry armor. Because there is no world where I don't have the ability to make it work. He does not have samples. Yes, they do that.
Rare sample collected! Reinforcing!
Requesting sentry.
You will never destroy our way of life! Sending in an eagle! Calling down a sentry!
Helldiver, you are moving outside the mission area.
Requesting air support! Calling down a support weapon! Activating jump pack!
And then occasionally, you get to use grenade pistol to do this to gates. Oh, that sucks.
Requesting advanced weaponry!
Coordinates received. This is Pelican 1 returning to extraction radius.
Eagle 1, leaving combat zone to resupply.
What injury? Going down the country.
ETA T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Liberty, save me!
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Requesting sentry!
Deploying
Back
sentry.
inbound!
ETA T-minus 30 seconds. ETA T-minus 20 seconds. Reinforcement budget depleted.
My shot's blocked by the buildings. But as you can see, when I don't play like an idiot,
I have visual on the extraction
this
zone.
loadout is 100% effective. Technically, this loadout can be effective in any mission. You just change around the auxiliary utility units that you're using to deal with your problems.
Pelican 1 preparing to depart. Shuttle launch in 20 seconds. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
You can use it with heavy, you can use it with light, you can use it with medium. You can use it with a two-hander, with the exception that you would have to be doing a two-man reload. And unfortunately, most players, they refuse to use the two-man team reloads because they want to play their own lives. Despite the fact that this game is team-based, there is a heavy contingency of players that refuse to play with people as though they're members of a team, which is why there's a high number of Chaos Divers. Basically, the most aggressive players that refuse to listen to other people and then cause problems in missions become the players that are considered problematic. Except if the person in question who's concerned with the problem is communicating an actual issue, that person, assuming that the group can be won over to be against them, is considered the problem, instead of the people who are causing the problem. So just before, on Krakatoa, before we completed Liberation of the Planet, those players that tried to antagonize me before I was on camera, the players that tried to antagonize me when I was on camera, and the players that caused a problem with their actions, those are usually the players that end up making missions go sideways. So through them, that is where your success or lack thereof actually belies. Usually they're really bad. Like, extremely bad. Their tactics are bad, their logic is bad, the follow-through of their behavior is bad, their loadouts can be bad, and the way that they apply their loadouts are bad.
Orbit synchronized.
Of course, none of this matters for high asset value missions. You're almost always going to be using some form of an encampment, and then an additional object to give you the ability to deal with the high amount of walkers that will be in the field. For a load like that, assuming that you have access to easy materials, this, either a gas mine or a Tesla tower. Usually gas mines will help you with keeping yourself alive from the hordes of flesh mobs that are going to storm the gates. And then, your choice of dealing with heavy targets. Whatever you choose to take 3 forms of encampment, needs to be able to deal with a heavy. Plus or minus your ability to deal with light units. So, assuming that that's heavy emplacement, autocannon works in his loadout, as does the ballistic shield, as does the rockets. The rockets tend to, on illuminate missions, target the ships, but they can also be able to target any heavy object as long as you wait for the wave to drop from the ship. If you pre-plant it, it will be a hit or miss, more or less. I tend to let the infantries get grounded up by the smaller munitions, and then the gas grenades hold back everything else, and then the laser cannon works on the heavies. Reinforcement budget.
Launch initiated.
Usually, these missions are hard to do solo. At minimum, I would say a high-ice mission like this for the Illuminates is a 2-man. Whether or not they have the lawn chair or the gamer chair, which is to say the anti-tank emplacement, it can make the mission a make or break. Because you need at least a person in the front, assuming that your Seifs are working with you, which when you have smoke missions, you're able to use the smoke to distract the enemies. We happen to have gotten the high ground position, so this will work better out for us. But you need at least a person in the front dealing with the high ground positions, and a person on the side dealing with the side ground position. On this position, there is only one door that it can be placed from, and in the outfield, where you are placing your targets, you throw your Gatling
Requesting sentry.
and your machine gun sentry
Deploying sentry.
towards the same side. You throw your gas mines out in front of the main gate once it's closed, so that none of them are inside the building.
Minefield. Stand clear.
Then you can choose to have the gate open or closed. To begin this mission, as we're waiting for additional players, we're going to keep it closed to give ourselves breathing room. And then, one person, as he's already setting up in the back, sets up in the middle of the platform, overlooking the field, which will be the skyline from this edge to this edge, with each type of unit. Usually, it's at least one harvester in a wave. Towards the back end, it can become as many as 4, plus or minus 2 additional air units.
Negative. Follow me.
So already, as you can see on the screen, I am currently at 42 kills. 47, 48, 49, 53, and that was just with the early dropping mission. Preferably you pull them off to this side. And then
Requesting air
you
support.
use the drop to disguise the radio signature of yourself and the Seif.
Calling down a sentry.
So now the Seif become a mobile attack team.
Deploying
And
sentry.
unlike where they usually do their job, they're going to blow up multiple things. I need to open the main gate so I can see.
Their lives were in ours. Going down fortifications.
Calling in reinforcements. Calling down fortifications.
Requesting fortification.
Leviathan in the back. Now I need to set a Gatling on the top.
Sentry.
Because now we need to control for the ground.
Calling down a sentry. Throwing grenade!
And because they work, this is where your incendiary can be used to clear up packs that are pushing their way into the building. Now we need to keep the door open.
Sending in an eagle!
And using this, it won't be pretty, but you can be able to buy time.
Calling down a sentry.
Plus, there are some free encampments here, like this one at this top position. So whenever you're really dealing with a really annoying harvester, you just put it in his face.
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver.
Illuminate. Southeast.
Stingray.
Eat this! Liberty, save me! Requesting sentry! Liberty, save me! Not today!
And now we hold it down long enough for another diver to be able to exfil into the mission. And that's the gambit.
Requesting fortification.
Calling down a sentry!
Calling down fortifications.
Our citizens depend on you for their safety.
And ironically enough, the thing that's giving us the most annoyance with pressure is just the normal small enemies. There's at least 15 flesh mobs out in the outfield.
Illuminate.
We need scan! Requesting sentry! Have a taste of democracy!
No idea where the door got blown.
Requesting fortification!
Deploying minefield. Stand clear.
Calling down a support weapon! Requesting advanced weaponry! Calling down a sentry!
And it's pretty much this for 10, 12 minutes. I don't remember how long these missions are. They go by so quickly. The only thing that really is a problem on these missions is grenades, because there's not a lot of grenades like there would be on desert planets. But as long as you can find a source of grenades, it pretty much solves itself.
Heavy. North. Throwing grenade. Calling down fortifications. Calling down a sentry.
Deploying minefield. Stand clear.
Heavy. North. 50 meters.
Ow.
Reinforcing. Requesting sentry. Sending in an eagle.
Leviathan overhead.
Requesting air support. Throwing grenade. Calling in reinforcements. Throwing supply beacon. Requesting fortifications.
Calling down fortifications!
Leviathan directly behind.
Marking location. East. Illuminate.
Leviathan off to the side.
Reinforcing. Requesting sentry. Calling down a sentry.
Careful, V3. You're in firing line of a turret.
You will never destroy our way of life. North.
Stingray down. side.
Calling in reinforcements! Sending in an eagle! Joining the fray! Reloading! Calling down the sentry!
Pelican 1 returning to extraction point. Please ensure you're inside the extraction radius. This is Pelican 1, preparing for touchdown.
For peace!
Onto the ship.
Pelican
Okay.
1 preparing to depart. Shuttle launch in 20 seconds.
I respect it.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
I'm not gonna pretend I know what.
Illuminate terrorists reap what
How do you even read that username? It's the fear face, but I don't know how to read that in emoji. We're just gonna call him fear face, chat. I'm not sure what fear face was thinking there, chat, but I respect it. At least these users have sense of humor.
Smells like squid guts in here.
Oh, boys, let's bring it on home. I'm hungry.
Innocents perish with every wasted second.
Nearly full round of requisites. Boy, that is a horrible pull. That increases a lot of vertical sway. When it comes to these ergonomics, I'm pretty sure that flashlight vertical is just better for coiling your shots. Honestly, I just want to get to 25, just to say that I'm done with the weapon, but I feel like this is the best that gets. What do I feel like doing right now? I feel like eating. And it's 9:21. I need to raise them. Right, let's do this. I'm going to go offline now because I need to cook, and then I need to eat, and then I need to do the recording for the content. And then I need to be out of the house at 6 a.m. I don't know when I'm going to arrive back to the house. So, I'm going to basically be unreachable at that time. Assuming that I don't see you all until I come back. Take the information I have given with you with a grain of salt, and let my knowledge leak out of myself and into you, chat. And let's hope this goddamn galactic board changes by the time I get back. Right. Bye, everybody.